Imagine you've traveled to a tiny village tucked into the hills of Sardinia or a quiet island in Okinawa, one of those rare places on Earth where living to 100 isn't unusual, it's ordinary. And imagine you sit down at the table with them for a meal. What's on the plate in front of you? It's probably not what you'd expect. There's no expensive superfood you've never heard of, no exotic powder, no complicated diet, no fancy supplement. What you'd find, instead, is simple, humble, inexpensive food, the same kinds of foods their grandparents ate. And yet, those plates may hold one of the great secrets to a long and healthy life. Today, I'm going to take you on a tour of what the world's longest living people actually eat every day, the foods and the simple habits around them that you can start borrowing for your own table this week. If you enjoy this kind of practical, honest look at what truly works, take a moment to subscribe so the next one finds you. Now, pull up a chair, and let's see what's on the menu. The first thing you'd notice is what sits at the center of nearly every meal: beans. If there is one true superfood of the world's longest living people, it's the humble bean. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, and other legumes are a daily cornerstone in almost every one of these communities. They're rich in protein and fiber, they're filling, they're cheap, and they keep blood sugar steady. The longest-lived people often eat a cup or more of beans a day. So the first lesson is simple and powerful. Eat beans every day if you can, in soups, stews, salads, and spreads. Next, you'd see the plate overflowing with vegetables and greens. These meals are built on plants, and especially on leafy greens, the kind picked fresh from a garden. Dark greens, colorful vegetables, herbs, more and more of them. In fact, in these places, meat isn't the star of the plate, it's more of an occasional guest, eaten only now and then, often just a few times a month. The lesson: make vegetables the foundation of your plate, not the side dish, and let meat become the occasional flavoring rather than the centerpiece. You'd also notice whole grains, not the white, refined, processed kind, but whole, hearty grains, along with starchy staples like sweet potatoes in some regions. These slow-burning carbohydrates give steady energy without the spikes and crashes. The lesson: choose whole grains over refined white ones, and don't fear the wholesome traditional starches that have nourished these people for generations. Then there are the healthy fats, and you'd see them too. A drizzle of good olive oil, a handful of nuts, almonds, walnuts. In some of these communities, a small daily handful of nuts is simply part of life, and it's linked with longer, healthier living. The lesson: swap butter for olive oil, and keep a handful of nuts as your go-to snack. Before we go on, if your mouth is watering and your mind is turning, drop a comment and tell me, which of these foods is already part of your meals? I love seeing what this community is eating. Now, a few more secrets from the table. In some of these regions, you'd find fish on the plate a few times a week. Small fish, rich in healthy fats, eaten in modest portions. And you'd notice fermented foods making an appearance, the kind that are wonderful for the gut. And to drink? Mostly water, herbal teas, sometimes a little coffee, and in some places, a small glass of wine enjoyed slowly with friends and food. Though, to be clear, that's about the company more than the wine, and it's never a reason to start drinking if you don't. The lesson: lean toward fish over red meat, welcome gut-friendly foods, and let water and tea be your everyday drinks. But here's something just as important as what's on the plate, and it's the secret most people miss entirely. It's how they eat. In Okinawa, there's an old saying spoken before meals, a reminder to eat until they're only about 80% full, not stuffed. They eat slowly, mindfully, and often in good company, sharing the meal with family and friends. Their biggest meal tends to be earlier in the day, not a heavy feast right before bed. The lesson: slow down, stop before you're completely full, and whenever you can, share your meals with people you love. The how of eating may matter nearly as much as the what. So let's gather the whole menu together. The world's longest living people eat beans every day, a plate built on vegetables and greens, whole grains and wholesome starches, healthy fats from olive oil and nuts, some fish, a little fermented food, and mostly water to drink, while meat and sugar and processed food stay rare. And they eat slowly, stopping at 80% full, often in good company. Look at that, and notice, there's nothing exotic, nothing expensive, nothing you can't find at your local shop. The secret was never some magic ingredient. It was simple, real, mostly plant-based food, eaten with care and with others. And that's the most hopeful part of all. You don't have to move to Okinawa or Sardinia to eat like the longest living people on Earth. You can start at your very next meal, add the beans, fill half the plate with vegetables, reach for olive oil and a handful of nuts, slow down, and stop before you're stuffed. Small, steady changes to your plate, repeated over the years, are exactly how these communities built their remarkable lives. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these foods will you add to your table this week? Beans, more greens, a handful of nuts? Tell me in the comments. And if your family has a traditional dish that fits this way of eating, share it, because your recipe might become someone else's new favorite. One honest note before we close. This video is for general education and isn't personal dietary or medical advice. If you have any health condition that affects your diet, like kidney issues or diabetes, talk with your doctor or a dietitian about what's right for you before making big changes. The food that helps you live long and well isn't found in a fancy bottle or an expensive aisle. It's the simple, humble, time-tested food that has nourished the world's longest-living people for generations, and it's waiting for you at your own table. I'll see you in the next video.